Masechta Horayos, the Vav Amud Aleph is starting from Hey Amud Beis. So we're starting from 3 lines from the bottom of Hey Amud Beis. According to Rab Meir says only Bezdin brings a hell and par dava shel tzibur, not the call. If the Bezdin made a mistake, a erroneous psak, and the call followed, the call follows suit. So it's not that the call brings. The only one that brings, according to Rab Meir, is Bezdin. And on this, the Gemara is going to ask a couple of shites. Tanya, you're going to have Rab Shimon who says both bring, and then you have Yehuda only the Tzibur brings. Yeah, Tanya, when I'm going to Nabraisa and Teres Kenim, Rabbi Shimon Oimer, it's written in Torah in the gate to the Kabbanis Ameluyim that the Levim brought. It says that the local Pa Ben Bakum Mechasi says Belun Vashanu Pa Sheni. So we're going to talk about the Par Sheni. Why does the Torah have to say Upar Sheni Ben Bakar Tikal Chatas? A second par. They should what? They brought 2 pares.
Who's bringing it?
The Levim had to bring it.
So what?
By the Kabbanis Hameluyim.
Why they have to bring a chatas?
So we're going to learn now. If the word Sheni is to teach us that they brought 2 parim. Because if the Torah wouldn't write Sheni, I would have thought when it says par again in the pasuk, it's referring to the original par that the pasuk started off with when it said B'lakhu, par ben baka. He's referring to the same par ben baka. He says V'aloik v'anema. It already says V'alaviyim in Yismles Yedei Mareish Aparim. It says plural. V'aseis ha'echad chatas v'sa'echad eil Hashem. It says b'feidish. 2 parim were brought, one for chatas, one for eila.
Why did there have to be a chatas? They sin. Chatas is always for a sin.
It's for the sin of the egel, of course. Yeah, sure. That they bring a kapara for the yidden. So here you see that we're talking about 2 different parties. So Ella Yach. So why does it? So what is he coming to tell us? Ella, why does he have to say sheni if the pasuk says b'feidah sheni? It says v'aseis echad chatas v'echad oil Hashem. So it's obvious that there were 2 parties. Why do you have to say pa sheni? Ella Yachel Teheinechel Chatas Leviyim. I would have thought every chatas that was the dama was sprayed on the mizbeach achitzoi, you were allowed to eat its meat, and this was a chatas that was sprayed on the mizbeach achitzoi. So I would have thought that that you could eat the meat. So he's come to tell us Talmud Leimo Par Sheni, meaning Sheni LaOila. That the Sheni, it's like a Sheni for the Oila. Just like the oila was not eaten, so too af chatazu, even this chatas, and now we're up on the top. Af chatazu, even this chatas, where they spray the blood on the mizbeach hachitzu, where normally the basa should be mutter. He's telling you loy nacheles because sheni to the oila, just like the oila is not, so too this chatas wasn't even. You color, yeah, completely burnt. So the Braisa continues. Similarly, Rabbi Yosef said in the Indian of the Kabbanis that the Uli Bavel, when they returned to Yerushalayim, it says Haboyme Hashvi Hagoyle Hikivel Elokei Yisrael Parim Shnei Ba'asa. All the Yidden, all the 12 Shvatim had to bring Kabbanis. How many did they bring? So it says over there that the Elim of rams they brought Tisha Meshisha 96 Kvasim Shiva Meshiva. Here it's brought down from Ezra. I have the continuation in the Hebrew. So over there it says Chatash Neim Asa Hakoil Hashem. All of it went up to Hashem. Does it enter your mind that everything went up as Ayla? Meaning, when it says the 12 Seirei Izim that were Chatois, that was completely burnt. Is it possible that the chatas was considered as a oila? The dinim of a chatas and oila are different. The oila is not eaten by nobody. Nobody gets to eat it, and chatas does. He said everything was like the dinim. The dinim of this chatas had a din like oila. The 12 chatoim. The chatois, yes. Ma oila loy nacheles, just like oila was not eaten, the basar. Chatas, even so, do this chatas that the Eli Babel came to bring as a kapara for the chatego, for not really for the chet of Avodah Zarah, because this was still before the Churban by Rishon, that they were serving idols. So when they came up to Yerushalayim, the Oila Bava, when they returned, they had to bring this chatos and Oila. So Leina Chalas, we said that chatos was not eaten. Where do we see the Tanya? Now we're going to learn the reason why wasn't it eaten. The Tanya we learned from Rabbi Yehuda al Havides Kechab Neviim. They brought this chatos for the Havides Kechab, the idols that they worshipped. Rabbi Yehuda Mashmol. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, these kabbanis were brought al Havides Kechab she'asu b'mei tzidkiyahu. That they brought this carbon for the Avodah Zarah that they worshipped in the days of Tzidkiyahu, who was the last king of Yehuda before the Churban Bayis Rishon. So the Bnei HaGoyla, those that were exiled for those 70 years, when they came back to Yerushalayim, they brought 12 Purim as a Oila and 12 Seizim as a Chatas. Okay. Zakt Yemada. Bishleim le'Rabbi Yehuda, it's understood according to Rabbi Yehuda, mashkachas lahanish name asa chatois. You find that the Yidden brought 12 seidim as a chatas, kegoin the chatos name asa shvatim, the maisu name asa seidim. According to Rabbi Yehuda, who brings the par helam dava? The tzibur, not the bezdin. So now they worshipped. Since they worship, they bring 12 seidim inami, or we can learn the chatu shiva shvatim. That 7 of the shvatim, the reiv, this either you go according to the reiv shvatim, or you go according to the reiv tzibur. It could be 6 shvatim, but it's the reiv tzibur. So it says Gemara inami the chatu shiva shvatim, that the reiv shvatim had sinned, usha'ara, and the remainder that did not sin, inoch b'grida, they're fashlept. And have to, because of those 7 that had worshipped idols, and have to bring a chatas, so the other 5 have to bring, the other 5 shvatim also have to bring. No exceptions, right. Says Yemara Nami Mashkachas Lo. So we could also find that a case where there'll be chayv 12. Kigoin, the chatu. I'm sorry, Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon. I left out Reb Shimon. The Tzibur brings that. According to Reb Shimon, he says that they both bring. That the Shevet that sinned, but he says over here, if one Shevet sins, it doesn't schlep in the other Shevet. So how are you going to find 12 Shvat in Shevet?
The holds the Bezin and the Shevet?
Yeah, but only the Shevet that sinned. Even if if it's Roiv, only it doesn't matter. You don't schlep the remainder. Roiv Shvatim or Roiv Tzibur, you don't schlep the remainder people that didn't sin. It doesn't fashlep according to Reb Shimon. So how is it possible that they brought 12? So you want
before he said that we should mail, since you have some already, you schlep the others. Before he said
that's according to only Rabbi Yehuda. Reb Shimon doesn't hold with that. Okay. Reb Shimon argues. So he says, how are you going to find Taka? Not being Mashkachas Lo. He says, yeah, you can find that there'll have to be chayiv 12 pares. Kigoin the chatu achad asa shvatim. For instance, 11 shvatim had sinned. The Maisu 11, and Reb Shimon says Bezdin and the shvatim have to bring the Bezdin and the tzibur. The Maisu had also seidin. So the shvatim that sin bring each shevet that sin brings, and there was 11. So Sach Akal, how many you have so far? 11 that sinned. The idach the Bezdin, and then the last one Bezdin has to bring with them for the erroneous psak, right? So that's how you have 12. According to Ameya,
that's how you have 12. You mean you can't consider
the
Bezdin as 12.
The Bezdin is the 12.
For Shevet, but it's for a Bezdin.
That is one,
right?
So, yeah,
and the other 11 shvatim that sin.
That's how you got 12.
That's how you got 12. Because according to Reb Shimon, you don't automatically schlep in the remainders that didn't sin. Those that didn't sin don't bring, according to Reb Shimon.
So we're talking about the case where there was
11 shvatim that had sinned, and Bezdin also brings, according to Reb Shimon. Reb Meir says only Bezdin brings. And no shvatim. So how do you come up with 12? Reb Meir, the Alma Bezdin Meviyim V'lo Yatzibur. That Bezdin is the one that brings the Kamshgaga, not the Tzibur. How are you going to find 12? The Gemara can go in the Chatu. V'hada chotel atres zimni. It means best, but here he brings down on the bottom that the tzibur sinned 12 times. Okay, so each time the Bezdin, right? So there was a erroneous psak of Bezdin 12 times.
On the same Indian?
On the same Indian, they retracted and gave a psak again. Okay, Rabbi note. She came to Bezdin. So you can't say they did it 12 times if the one erroneous psak. Then Bezdin retracted. Then they retracted 12 times. Huh? Even if it's the whole tzibur, the tzibur would bring only one. The Bezdin only brings one.
Even if all 12 shvachim.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Only Bezdin brings it.
Right.
So it would only be one.
Yeah.
So how did Bezdin accumulate to 12?
Right.
Because they gave erroneous psak, retracted, gave erroneous psak,
So
retracted.
Bezdin was busy doing Machar 12
Yeah. Exactly. You might have.
One after another.
Yeah. It says it. I just read it to you.
No, but one day, one
Yeah.
after another.
Oh, I don't know. One day.
Are they for real, these Bezdin people?
Okay.
I don't understand.
Says the Meshach of 70 years of Golus, right? The Oile Bubble, for sure, some of them died. Because this is talking about a chet. You're bringing karbanes for the chet that happened before the korban, right? The Oile Bubble were there for 70 years, right? Those that were now in Eretz Yisrael, if they sinned, they had to be the age of 13, 83. So you didn't have, a lot of them died, right?
Okay.
So maybe all of them died. And Allah, Sinai, Achatas, which the owners died, they don't bring a carbon. It's possible. Even if they set up a carbon and the owner dies,
When did the
they
Bezdin
come-
Paskin?
when they came up, the Oile bubble came up to Eretz Yisrael,
That's when the Bezdin Paskin?
they had to bring the Chatas and the Oile. Maybe a couple years after, let's say 13 years after, to those that became 13, they became a chuyev, right?
They
But
didn't sin.
maybe they're the sinners. But the problem is that you're bringing for the ones that were there in Bavel.
Yeah.
Those people died. Achatas that the owner died
Why do you say they died? Maybe
because they were
also-
there 70 years.
So who says they died when they're 70? 'Cause
Oh,
they
wait.
were living
The
long
kid.
lives.
So according to, but some of them for sure, some of them for sure died.
Okay.
So how did they bring? How were they able to bring the Eila Baba? How were they able to bring achatas for the Bnei Deir of Tzidkiyahu? How is it possible? So if the owner dies, you don't bring a carbon. I mean, Papa Ki Gemini, when we learned this halach l'mesh mesinai, chatas shmeisa be'aleha b'misa, that chatas, that the owners died, we kill the animal. We don't use the chatas. We kill it right away. We don't feed it. We wait till it dies. And immediately, when were these words said? B'yachid. Only if it was a yachid, if the carbon was designated for a yachid, and the yachid died, so then you let that behemoth, you wait till you don't feed it. You make sure he dies. Not by a tzibur. Because as a tzibur, there's no misa. That if even if part of them died, but it was brought for a tzibur, the carbon you don't kill. It's good. It's a good carbon.
Because there was a tzibur once upon.
There is a tzibur now. In fact, you want to know later, Papa. How does our Papa know this din that chatas tzibur is ksheira? Even if all of them died, now we're thinking all of them died.
Well, maybe there's nobody left.
Right. If you're going to say means that the descendants take the place of the father. So therefore, by a tzibur, you have a pasuk that the children are when the children there's children, they're the place of the father. They're reviving. They're making the father as if the father's living. In fact, you want to why not by tzibur? The place of a son takes the father is even by yachid. After you want to ledukya the rapapa misoyer, rather his raya is from soyer hachatos of the kabbanis hamusaf, the Reish Chodesh, that they brought every Reish Chodesh for what? To be mechaper for the avenes of tuma. specific tumas. If I don't remember which one, but you have to look in the Chumash Bamida. Damer Achmana, that the Torah says in at Maisi they brought a sir chatas mit trumas halishka. From the trumas halishka, that's where they took the money for kabbanis that they needed to be mechapan of oven of truma. In fact, you saw it says we have to be concerned that maybe those that gave the money to the lishka, to the pushka, to participate in the kabbanis that they're going to buy to forgive them on the tumas, on the oven, on the sin for tuma. Maybe some of them die. Not everybody lives forever. So how could they? Those that are left over, how is it mutter for them to bring a carbon from the Mayis Alishka? Part of the participation in the money are from dead people that died already.
No, everybody participated means it's only for him.
For that carbon, it's designated for the carbon. They brought a carbon tzibur for
Guys
Truma.
didn't get money, so therefore there's not a carbon.
No, everybody had to participate. That was the Machzah Shekel. Sagt die Gemara, Hoshmamida, Chatz Shemeisa Ba'alad, B'tzibur. If it's done for tzibur karva, it's kosher, and even if people died, it's a tzibur ain't a mesa. Could we compare the case of the money that they took from the Trumas Alishka for the chet of Truma to our case that they brought for the generation that was in Sitkia's time for the Oile Bavel? Could we compare? It's possible nobody died. In 1 year, it's possible everybody's still living.
Every year they gave money to the
Have you sure they would give. But over here, the bubble that they were marking for the days of Tzidkiyahu. Vade Maisu, for sure, the sinners died. The Bnei Dira of Tzidkiyahu for sure died. And here he makes a cheshbon because the only one that will. Okay, we'll soon get to it. The only one that can bring it is somebody who's 13 years old. So it's 83. It has to be 83-year-old that's bringing. And that lifespan was 70, and it wasn't.
Because if he was under 13
He couldn't bring. It's not Mechayim and Karber. Right. Only the reasoning of a papa is from here. The Chsiv, it says by the Egla Arufa that the Kohanim would say, Karper la'amchi yisol asher padis Hashem. It says, forgive for the, what was the Egla Arufa? They found a maze between two cities. The maze that was close, whichever city was closest to the maze, they would take a Egla Arufa, they would take a calf, and bring it to the Nachal Eson and cut off the head, and that would be protection for that city that nobody should get hurt because they brought a kapara. So Hashem that Hashem has redeemed. What's this? Says the Gemara. This pasuk is telling you, Ruah kapara zu. This Egla Arufa shetachapa af al kol bnei Yisrael yetz Mitzrayim. Even for the Yidden that came out of Mitzrayim and served the Egel, this Egla Arufa will be a kapara for them, or not for the Egel, for those that if they found a maze between two cities and they didn't bring Egla Arufa in those times, this Egla Arufa will be mechapa for that time. From this that it says in the pasuk Asher Padisa, that means the dirt that was redeemed from Mitzrayim. Asher Padisa was extra, so the pasuk could have written Kapel Amchi Yisol Hashem. Why does it say Asher Padisa? Obviously, he's coming to talk about the Mason from the previous generations that didn't bring the Egla Arufa. This Egla Arufa will forgive for the previous generations. In fact, you might have meet dummy. How could you compare those two cases? How could you compare the case of Egla Arufa that it forgives even for the Yotze Mitzrayim for those that didn't bring Egla Arufa to the case of the Oile Bavel? Hasam there by the Egla Arufa Kula Yisinun. There's now we're dealing with a fresh case of Egla Arufa, and they have to actually bring Egla Arufa. So you make a migu the mechaper achayim, mechaper nama mason. Since you have a fresh case of Egla Arufa, which needs kapara now for the dead person that we have now, so we can include the mason also. Elahocha mi have a chayim over here by the Oile Bavel. Who's bringing now? Only somebody who's 13. 13 that would make it 83 years ago. 83, he says probably nobody's alive. So Gemara in a Chanami. You're right. Between the Eila Bavel, there were many from the Bnei Deir Tzidkiyahu that Taka served idols, but L'cheira.
And what and the kasha?
So he says. So because of this kasha, the Gemara explains that the kabbanis that they brought, right in a Hanami, they brought it. They brought it from the people that were still alive. He says there were people that were still alive from the Bnei Tzidkiyahu. The Chsiv, it says, where do we know? How do we know the Eila Bavel? There were a lot of Eila Bavel still remaining alive when they came to Yerushalayim, because it says, "V'rabim ha'koyanim v'halavim v'rashi ha'oves hazakenim asheros habayis harishain." Many from those that saw the chum of the first bayis, when they put up the second bayis, so you heard a lot of people crying, and you heard also a lot of people b'simcha. It's like those that were b'simcha never saw the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash. Like you have today, people don't believe there was 9/11. You have a lot of people that's after 9/11. They don't. It's baloney. So here you had from the Eila Bavel who mamish saw the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash. In fact, you might have a maybe the skating from the Bayis Harishan was only a miyut of the kol, meaning there wasn't a roiv, and you need.
Right people from the
right.
Didn't sin.
And so roiv, so since roiv of the tzibur was not sinners, so maybe they shouldn't. So you can't bring a chatas tzibur. Can't call that tzibur. There was no roiv.
So what, they all died, or they all?
Most of them died. There was maybe a miut that cried that was still alive. But you can't. If it's only a miut, you can't bring a kabbat tzibur. So you better know there was a rave that was alive. How do we know? People couldn't recognize there was simcha there because of the cries of the Eila Bavel. That means they flooded their crying flooded out the simcha. That means there was a rave. The voices were heard till a distance, a far distance. So there was a rave. There was a tzibur from the Eila Bavel. That's why they were able to bring. Amigo, the Chaim brought it. It goes for the Mason too. In fact, what if I'm a but how could they bring a carbon? The Bnei Deir of Tzidkiyahu, they were amazed. I mean, we learn in Navi, Mamish Mezidin, and if they're amazed, they're not allowed to bring a carbon. How were they allowed to bring a carbon? Says Gemara, Horayos Shah. You're right. Amazed is not forgiven with a chatas, but that was for that time. They allowed it. So too, it's reasonable to say. Because if you're not going to say so, it says Elim Tishim Shisha, Kvasim Shiva Mishiva. Can I get me? What do you get? It's 96. So the Vilna Gaon says 96. I can understand. Each Shevet, 12. It brought 8. Okay, but when you get 77, that number doesn't jive with anything. So you have to say it was Horayos Shah. It wasn't corresponding anything.
Oh, that 77 was a Horayos Shah to bring 77.
77, yeah. So you see, there was Horayos Shah to bring.
What's the 77?
Oh, no number. It was Tama number. So it was Horayos Shah to bring 77. And nothing. So you see, that was a special time, and that's because of the numbers that you see. It was a special time. So we say that was Horayos Shah even for the Mezidim to be able to in Avodah Zarah, to be able to bring a carbon. So too, b'negei to the Param and the Seidim, that the Bnei Deir of Tzidkiyahu, or Mezidin, or Amazed in worshipping Avodah Zarah, that it was Horayos Shah that they could bring karbanis. You learned. If Bezdin made a erroneous psak in the tzibur, followed suit, umeis echad not tzibur, and one of the tzibur died before they were able to be makar the carbon. Chayam, they're still mechuli to bring a carbon.
What if there are 1,000 people? So if one dies, it affects the whole tzibur?
Because it was designated for the whole tzibur. So one of the tzibur is missing, maybe not. So he says tzibur loy meisa. Yeah, so he said tzibur loy meisa. Chayam lav meis echad mechavi habezdin. Before they were able to be makar the par halem. par helam dava, pturim that potter, because that's not a tzibur. It's only 3. So if one of them died, you cannot. It's like a yachid, and if a yachid dies, so the carbon, what we do is we kill it. The tzibur were mechuyev to bring pahelam dava because they followed the erroneous psak of the best.
That was
Reb Shimon, and Reb Shimon said you have to bring both. Very good,
Both of them bring.
both. So mitzad the tzibur, you still bring it. Mitzad the bezdin, you know. Oh, he's going to go through it now. Montana says, who's the bride? Whom was this bride learned like? Amar Chizam, Amar Zayin, Amar Yemi, Amar Rab Meir, follows Rab Meir. Only Bezdin brings it. Oh, let's understand why Rab Meir. The Amar Bezdin Avim, Alayat Tzibur. Bezdin brings it, not the tzibur. So it doesn't matter if one of the people of the tzibur died, because they don't bring anyway your carbon. Who's the only one that brings it? Bezdin. Hilkach meisach minat tzibur chayavim. The koyim kulei Bezdin. The whole Bezdin is still around. Their Indian is they bring a carbon on their erroneous psak. The mice has to be done by the kol, which was done by the kol. If one of the kol died, so what? The erroneous psak was done by them. They have to bring. They have to bring a pahal medava. How about meis ech bezdin? If one of the chavei bezdin died, pturin, then the bezdin is potted to bring a carbon. The havi lachata shemeis ech min hashutfim. It's like shutfim that brought a carbon. It's not exactly shut because it's only being mechapa for one. But here, the chatas that shemeis
Like a
the chavei bezdin considered as a shutim. It's similar to shutim. Yeah, and shutim, if one of the shutim died, right, and they weren't market for anyone yet, then they killed the animals. It's like yachid. That's why they're potter. Why do you have to say it goes dafka according to Meir? Don't we have Shimon who says that both have to bring side the tzibur and side the bezdin? Are you going to ask me? One of the bezdin will be the same. Will be potter. Right, potter. And mitzad the tzibur, the shadow is the tzibur. If the tzibur has to bring and one of them die, according to Shimon, the tzibur has to bring. It says the tzibur brings. Why would they bring? Because chatas tzibur loy meisu. We say so. It can go according to Shimon. He says dama bezdin imat tzibur. He says side the bezdin, side the tzibur bring a carbon. Is meisach minat tzibur chayavim? They're still chayav. Why? The ain tzibur meisim. Because there's no din misa by a tzibur when it comes to the chatas. They still have to bring it. Meisach bezdin. Pturin. Kidamina on the chatas shutvini. So it can work according to Rab Shimon. Says he not true. Shamidan leili Rab Shimon, because we heard from Rab Shimon the Amar chatas shutvim ain't a mesa. Chatas shutvim has a din like a tzibur. So therefore you should still. So right. So they still have to bring the Tanya that we learned. Nabraisa par v'soy yom kippurim. A par v'soy. Where do we see that? Because the halacha of a par and a soy of yom kippurim sha'avdu. They designated a par and a soy for kapara before the akraba got lost. It ran away. The sheep and the goat and the bull. The hifrish achim tachteim. And they took a different goat and a bull. Yamusu kulan. Then the first 2 have to be killed. If they find the original come back, that's got to be killed. Those are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Shimon argue. Yiru. No, you're not allowed to kill it. He says you have to feed it. You're not allowed to starve it till it gets a mum. The fish ain't chatas tzibur mesa, because the chatas tzibur does not. You don't kill the animal.
So if you find the first animals, you have to just let them.
You have to let them live and redeem it. It's not puzzle. It's kaddish, and you have to redeem it and use the money.
Because they would consider the karbanos considered.
Oh, so that's what he's saying. So you see, but this is talking about what chatas by the par v'soshal yom kippurim, that it was only brought for the kahanim. It was not brought for the tzibur. So you see, it's loy meisa. Am le'av yosef kahanim kamer. You want to say that the par yom kippurim is mechapa on the kahanim, and it's considered as a chatas shel shutfim. Shiny Koyanim is not because of Shutvim. There, they could call. Koyanim are considered as a regular tzibur. Like it says, Ala Koyanim, and then it says, Al Kol Am HaKol Yechaper. So you see that the Koyanim is compared to the Am HaKol. So it's a tzibur. Koyanim are tzibur. Are not like Yechidim was, that the Kohen Gadol is mechaper with the power for all the other Koyanim that entered into the Kodesh HaKadoshim while they were tummy. Right? That's what he's bringing apart. What's the reason he's bringing apart? That it should be mechaper. The Kohen Gadol is bringing that it should be mechaper and all the other Kohanim that enter into the Beis Hamikdash tummy. So we thought it's only Shutvim. It's not a whole tzibur. But he says in the pasuk you see Al Kohanim Al Kol Am HaKol. You compare it to a tzibur. So if you're going to say if Shimon says Kohanim are considered as a tzibur, nice in Pabahida, so they should also have to bring a separate the Kohanim besides the Shvatim. They're considered their own tzibur Kohanim. There should be another part. 13. The Chitema, and if you're going to say double the Shvatim, it should be more than the Shvatim. Meaning in our Mishnah, Reb Shimon said, when all the Yidden sin, they only bring 12. If the Kohanim are a separate tzibur, it should be 13. It says, Rabbi Yaakov explains, the Shivta Shel Levi lo yikra kol. The Shivta of Levi was not called a kol. The Chsiv, like it says, Hineni mafrecha v'hibesichel nesaticha l'kal amen. And the pasuk says, when Satis Zarecha Acharecha Achuz HaSolam Kol sheyesh lo yachuz yikra kol. The kol shein lo yachuz lo yikra kol. Only which Shvatim are called a tzibur? Only those that inherited land in Eretz Yisrael. But when it comes to the Kohanim and the Levim, they did not have a achuz in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, they're not called a kol.
I take the pasuk there for.
Oh, in Cain, it's a little different. Where do you have 12 Shvatim? If one of the Shvatim was Levi, right? So where do you have 12? He says Ephraim and Menashe, Reuben and Shimon Yiyoloi. It was Ephraim and Menashe. How do we know Ephraim and Menashe? Im HaKoilel is equal to Reuben and Shimon. Oh, I think it's Reuben and Shimon. Im HaKoilel, the Vilna Gaon says, equals to Ephraim and Menashe. Amar Rava said, Aksiv, Al Shem Acheim Yikoru B'Nachalosam. It says if you can have two children, right, they're not going to be considered as separate Shvatim, only they're going to take Chalakim and Eretz Yisrael like Shvatim. Lenachla Hukshu, V'loi L'davar Acha. Ephraim and Menashe were not considered as a tzibur by Parel L'Daba. They were only considered as a tzibur, but negate to getting a chilik in Eretz Yisrael. So we're back to square one. So Levi is considered. How do you have 12? It has to be Levi is considered as a tzibur. Says the Gemara, and from that second, what do we have? So we have a raya.
The Kohanim should also be considered as a tzibur.
Oh, so he says.
You're not using Ephraim and Menashe as
Right. So you see, Chata Shutvim. That we say, even if the Baileh die, we say, even if you call them Yechidim, let's say they're called Yechidim, but you have a raya that the Chatas of Shutvim is forgiven because that's what it says. That the Kohen Gadol was able to be Mechapa with his power, the other Kohen. Loi says the Gemara, Ephraim and Menashe were not considered as separate Shvatim. But only Benegay to Nachla, Vachalukim with Golan. We know they had their own flags. It says Gemara Nachalasan. They said just like the Nachla, that's how the Chaniya was. Meaning, just like they inherited, it came together. The Nachla and the Degel came together. So said Gemara also another teretz Kedei Lachli Kavlit Golan. If you know that Machon Levi was in the middle. And you had 3, 3, 3, 3, but you couldn't have 3 if you wouldn't count Ephraim and Menashe as separate. You would only have 11 because Levi stood in the middle. In order to make that there should be 3 on all 4 corners, you would have to count Ephraim and Menashe separately. It's like you want about Chalukim b'Nesim, but we see that by Nesim they were Chaluk. Ephraim had its own Nasi and Menashe had it. That not to make Ephraim better than Menashe over Ephraim. The time that we learned in the Baraisa, Shlomo HaMelech also Shiva Yimei Chanukah. He made Chanukah's Hamizbeah for 7 days. Why did Moshe make 12 days? Pashit, you see, for the Nasim, he had to show covet. According to Rab Shimon, the Chatas of Shutvim, right? That if it's one of them died, will it be mechaper or not, or you kill the animal?
Oh, we didn't answer that
No,
before.
or it's not considered as a covenant tzibur. Is it considered as a covenant tzibur? The Eina Mesa, like Abaya said before, or we followed Rabbi Yosef. It's not considered as a covenant tzibur, and therefore you kill the animal if one of the owners died. So the Tashma coming here, I'll answer you. The Tanya we learned in the Braisa, there are 5 chatois that you have to let the animal die, which are Vlad chatois, the Vlad of a behema, that if they designated a carbon before for a chatas, and then behema became pregnant, so that Vlad you have to kill. So the Tumas chatas, because it's part of the chatas. It's part of the chatas. Before you were makavit, it was part of the chatas. So therefore, and you can't be makavit, so you kill it. Utumas chatas. Let's say he found another a fat animal for the chatas. He says he wants to make an exchange. So then the halacha is that animal you kill. The chatas shmeisa baila.
The first one.
Huh?
The first animal.
The one that he wants to exchange. The chatas shmeisa baila. Oh, I'm not sure. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's the one that he wants to exchange. The chatas shemeis ba'ala, chatas that the owners died. The chatas sheniskapru ba'ala. What time is mine? A chatas 10-2. A chatas that the owners were forgiven and they used another behema and the original behema came back. You kill it. The chatas shavush nasa. A chatas that you designate has to be sacrificed within the year. So he's designated during the year, and then by the time he came to Hakrava, the year had passed. He's saying there's no such a thing as a vlad chatas by a covenant tzibur. There's no nekeda by a covenant tzibur. Because the whole Indian of Tmura of exchange doesn't happen by a covenant tzibur. And it said, because the Torah says beferish lo yachlif and lo yamar, I say. You cannot talk about a chatas that the owners died and the original came back, but covenant tzibur shel ain't tzibur mesim. There's no tzibur mesim. So 1 minute. The only two is that the owners were forgiven by one animal, and the original and the year passed. So it says Lo Yishamainu. We did not hear if the din is mesis or not. I would have thought the din is like by a chatas yachad. Amarta yumet sasum in hamefurish. We learn out the sasum from the mefurish. Mefurish is that the first 3 is not by a tzibur. Mesu is not by a tzibur. It's only by a yachid. Mamatzino bevlat chatas v'tunas chatas shemesu ba'ila. Yachid the bar ma'amurim aloy b'tzibur was not said by a tzibur. Asher neskap ba'ala v'shavish nasa. Yachid had one ma'amurim aloy b'tzibur. It was only said by a yachid, not by a tzibur. Like Gemara chidamna and Efshim could we then learn how to Efshim from something that's not possible? Efshim chad makam gomer. Efshim says it's one mucker. All these 5 chatois meis is one mucker. Since 3 of them is not shy by a tzibur, the din of mesis it's only by a yachid. So by mesis not. So the other 2 will also say it by a tzibur. There's no din of mesis.